Yeah. So today also we are here with another webinar session hosted by 99X, and hope everyone is doing good. So today we'll be discussing a bit about building scalable Angular applications. I think we can start off the session by introducing ourselves. So I'm Samindra Chaturanga.
And Sayyaf Farooq. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. I guess we can straight away move into the session. So, as we have mentioned in some of the promotional content, we'll be discussing today about thinking in terms of scalability when you develop an Angular application, and then how we can design a scalable module structure. And we'll also be discussing a bit about pros and cons, mostly pros, I may say, building scalable Angular applications, and the decisions that we have to take when we are incorporating new elements or new changes into our Angular applications. So our session will mostly be based around these areas. Yeah. Okay. Uh, yes.
To start off with, Swamindra, what do you think? Why do we need scalable applications? Like when we talk about scalable applications, right? The importance of that in software that we are going to develop.
Yes. The idea is have these when it comes to the professional environment, these will not be any more pet projects. So not the projects that we did in uni life, right? So the ultimate goal is to go into production, and with the current tech stack, especially when it comes to Angular apps, they will not be these ones that you sort of build and deploy and forget about, but mostly SaaS applications that will have continuous improvements, new features added in. Likewise, for that we actually have to think about like at the inception of the application. As you all know, it will be a lot of cost to re-engineer the whole app. So we have to make sure that we build our app in a way that it is scalable to cater more users as well as more features. So, so in thinking in terms of scalability, we'll mostly be discussing today about how we can manage our state in our application, and how we should place our components. So how the component structure is going to be, and how the data flow inside our application should be, and how we can how our application should communicate with third parties, and also the module structure, and a bit about testing as well. Yeah.
Yeah. As you have been saying about it, first thing you have mentioned was the state management. So state management is something very important that we need to consider at the initial stage of the application development, because when we build large applications, obviously you need scalability for the large applications. So when we build large applications, there are 99% of time you will obviously have to use a state management platform or library. So that is for the in-app communication between the components, or even modules, or even to transform a state inside the application. So state management is very important, and putting the state management into the scalability, what we need to really think about is the data flow, how the data flow of the state management is going to be. The entire thinking throughout the application will be based on that. So what are the state management platforms that we can use, things like that. There are, like, for an example, as you can see in the slide, RxJS, Akita, Angular Redux Store was there, things like that. So another thing is component structure. So Angular is totally built based on components. So component is something that is by definition, that is something reusable inside the application, throughout the application. This component, we need to understand by its behavior what kind of components, or conceptually how we can divide those. So there are two types of components: presentational components, we call it dumb components as well, and smart container components. So presentation component is self-explanatory, but again, telling about what that is, it's the component that will work dumb. You won't write any logic inside that. You won't uh, communicate with any services, APIs, or even you won't update the store through the presentational components. So it's standalone components that you can pass some data, and mostly for the presentation purposes, and it will show the data in the UI in our usual case. And then if there are any actions based on, for an example, a click action in the application, it will give you an output. So input and output are some terms that we are going to use throughout our presentation. And the smart container components. So these are the components that we include our application structure, and also the components that will have the logic of, rather than saying it logic, the entire action and all the user activity rendering of logics, things like that. So if I need to take an example of a just for the real life instance, say a coffee application, there are a list of coffees that I need to rate. Okay, the list of the coffees will be the presentational components, but the container that it has and all the logics that's gonna call the services that is gonna update the store, and if you have any API endpoint touchings, if you need to call any APIs or update APIs, that will be done by the smart container component.
Yeah. To add that, Saif, so what you are saying is basically, if I sum things up, or if I brief things, the presentational components will sort of be dumb, which will only accept an input and maybe give an output. But smart containers will be the ones that we write to communicate and maybe consume services and update the details into presentational components. So I think it's mostly there will be presentational components, maybe more than one inside smart components or smart containers, containers, when we try to write and try to write a scalable Angular application. Yes. So if I want to discuss a bit about the data flow, so this is the next part, or rather the next topic when we come across when it comes to thinking in terms of scalability, which is the data flow. And by data, what we understand is basically two things. One is app state, which state the app is in, and if there are any actions performed by the user, the payload of those actions. So these data, so the UIs need to understand the app state and update and show what the state is to the user. And then when user interacts with those data through the UI should sort of send out a payload to back to update the state or to save it. So those are the data that we talk about, and it is recommended. It's always this data flow is unidirectional or rather one way, because it reduces lots of complexities. I think, Sahab, this is a concept which Angular adopted from somewhere else. Maybe you can
Yeah,
enlighten the guys.
the inspiration is coming from the Redux pattern. So when React.js had the Redux store and all, they have had this pattern implemented. So to adapt it to Angular, the state management libraries like RxJS, Akita, uh, the inspiration is coming from the Redux pattern. I mean, someone who is familiar with the Redux, how that works and all, it's very easy for, to get hang on with this.
Yeah, yeah. So the next item, or the next thing that we should consider when thinking in terms of scalability is communication. So this communication means actually with third-party services, because our Angular application will not be living standalone. So it will obviously have an API, and then it might have to communicate with browser storage or maybe cookies even. So for that, the idea is to uh, do this communication via state stores, and even these state stores, they should not communicate directly with these third-party services. There should be a proxy which sort of abstracts the underlying implementation of the communication, so that that we can easily sort of move from one to other, instead of like without affecting the top layers of the implementation. Yes. Okay. So thinking about this modules, so this is I may say the spotlight of our session today. So we will discuss a bit deep than others when it comes to how we organize our modules in an Angular application to make it scalable. Yeah. Okay. Now this is sort of the module structure, the very basic module structure in a scalable Angular application. So basically, you have the root app root, and then you have the core modules and the core module, and then you have all the features, which is feature modules, and then you have you can have a layout module, and then we have a shared module, and then we have styles, and then we might have some tests written, and then we can have views module as well. So moving on, we will discuss these in more detail. Yeah. uh, so I'll discuss a bit about the approach of modern Angular application. Here you can see in the approach there will be all the other modules which we discussed in the previous slide, and then again all these TS files which resides in the approach. So I think I might not have to go through each of these, but I will talk a bit about the routing module and the initialization module. So routing module is the module which takes care of all the uh, main routing in between the pages in your Angular application. And then app initialization module is the module which is called before anything else sort of loads or executes. So if you have, let's say, any settings to be downloaded, this is the place that you do that, but you have to be very careful in that, because the app will not load until all the promises or all the calls in this is resolved. So if you try to bring down all the data at once in the initialization module, which is not the way to do it, because it will drastically slow down the application. So how we do that is we bring down the bare minimum, the what's really important at this initialization phase, and then load the rest of the data, or do rest of the stuff as we go on through the application. Yeah.
Yeah, Samir has been talking about all of this, but I think we need to further break it down into these areas like core modules, feature modules, layout modules, and etc. So talking about the core modules, right? Again, it's the terms that we need to be familiarized with. That is dedicated to the core services and state stores. So if there are, I mean, in the application, if there are anything that we are going to use throughout the entire application, that is going to be inside the core module. That can be a service, that can be even a component in different scenarios. So the thing here is it's going to be, I mean, whatever we are going to do here, it's going to be singleton, not just in the terms of singleton service, but this will be only created once throughout the app's life cycle, and this will be used throughout the application. For an example, we have added authorization helpers. So authorization, obviously, for the security, we add inside the application, and we might call it twice, thrice, or except, I mean, many times inside the application. And then helper functions, very pure functions that are going to be reused throughout the application. So things like that will be in the core module. So the core module is the core of the application. So that's where the meaning and what it does by that module comes from. And feature modules, I think, Samindra, what do you think about these feature modules?
Yeah. So this is I may say, with all the helpers and all, this is where our features are going to be in. So obviously there will be many features in an industry grade application. There will be lots, maybe hundreds, thousands of features. So these feature modules will be representing an app's features, and obviously, of course, as I said, there will be many. But here the catch is only one module is responsible for a single feature. So we will not. It's not recommended to uh, uh, have one single feature module taking care of multiple domain features, or even part of a domain feature. So the idea is to separate the concerns, so separation of concerns, so that one module will be taking care of only one feature at a time. So if you, in case if you need to communicate in between the features, those will probably be handled via the core services, which are responsible for inter-feature communication, and which also makes each and every feature very loosely coupled, or not dependent on each other.
Actually, that's a very important point. I think what you have talked about, one module, one feature. We always keep a rule to, I mean, if there is one feature, then for that we only go with one module. I mean, one module will have only one feature. So you don't add another feature as a component or another weave or whatever inside that feature module. In the practical terms, it's a bit critical to make the decision, but that is where the importance of again thinking modules comes into play. And continuing from what I've been talking, a single module contains all its components, views, services, containers, types. Okay, what are these first, right? These are the elements that these modules will have. So each modules will have these component in Angular terms. We know helpers. Yes, those are pure functions that can be reusable, but you might have a doubt like why helpers here if we have it in the core services. The helpers or the reuse helpers that are only dedicated for this module will be allocated in this helpers module. Likewise, and also the services like state related services and API calling services. Even we prefer separating the business logic into the service, so all types of service. But in the practical terms, we can divide the services into three as well. Like what I'm saying is the folders can be divided into three parts as well. For an example, that can be inside the services folder itself, or separate folders based on how, again, it is coming to a decision making point as a team that you will make it, and moving on developing based on the standards that you have fit. And types here is the types that we have in TypeScript. Some people name it as models. So and the weaves I think we will talk further, but weaves will be the pages or the weaves that we can route, or even the weaves that contains the container components. And obviously the feature module need to have the routing modules and the particular modules for that. So one of the main advantage of having feature modules is obviously it's going to be isolated in most of the scenarios, and we can lazy load the modules. So lazy loading is something helps a lot to reduce the initial load time of the application, and also to isolate and reusable for the reusability as well, if we need to use it throughout the different instances of the applications. So again, talking about designing a scalable module structure.
Saraf, just before that, to add to that, I think from if you go back to the previous slide, from our experience, I may say now when it comes to our application, it is a quite large application, right? So every time that we build the application, it used to complain that the files, the minified files are too large, as in it will take a lot of time for a user. Of course, if it's a bad connection, it's worse. User to sort of load the application instead of really loading the data and all. This is what we are talking here is just the application, the UI and the logic. So the idea is by including all the dependent weave services, containers, and types in the feature module itself, you can simply lazy load that feature as we go on. So it will only be loaded by Angular when it's needed. So it will not be loaded, like the entire application will not, of course, be loaded at the initial load time. So the load time will drastically reduce. So when user interacts with the application, whenever it is necessary, it will bring down the JS, the necessary JS file, which is related to that module, along with its services, views, containers, types, everything. So it's really important. But then again, Saif, how do you think we could, let's say there's a service that is used in multiple places, let's say in multiple features. What do you think we should do in that case? So it will, it is not the case that it will be loaded at the load time of that particular functionality or other feature, right? So it will also be used in another feature. So how do you think Angular handles that scenario?
Yeah, that's where the shared modules come into play. So the shared modules, we can include the shared services, shared components, directives, pipes, everything, right? So shared module, as you have, I mean, the answer for your question, I mean, if we go back to the question, that's the definition of shared module. So good one, and placed at the right time. So these shared modules are obviously, it's gonna, I mean, if you are going to decide to put it inside the shared module, definitely it's gonna be used at least at two places, or minimum two places, but not necessarily have to be used at two places as well. Uh, there are some modules that are totally isolated, but it's more of a presentation type component, right? So that also can be included in the shared modules. So these are all in the practical terms I'm talking about. But the main thing is, as I mean, shared module is a subset of a feature module, but then again, talking about it, it should be dependent. It should not be depending on uh, any other shared what do you call modules as well. It can be depending on the services, different services. Yes, it can. We can import it and call, but uh, also we should not include the business logic inside the shared modules. Like the vast business logic should be separated out of the shared modules when we think about it. So that's about shared modules. And one more thing I need to highlight here is, say for an example, I need to write a pipe, right? Say just a small one that is converting text format or something that is not already inbuilt in there. For an example, you need to have your own customized date format, which is not provided by Angular. So you need to write a pipe by yourself. So for that, uh, that in this scenario, you will have questions whether to separate the pipe as a module itself, or have one shared module and add all of, I mean, import all of these in the shared module. But the recommended practice is, again, we are coming into the single responsibility principle, or one I mean one thing for one module, thing like that. So isolating the modules inside the shared module is very important. Maybe at the initial stage of the application, it might not be that uh, effective. It might not affect the application at the initial stage, but with the time, you will realize when you do this, yes, it makes my job easy and better. So but also there are a few other modules that we need to mention in terms of these applications, like layout module. In by naming, we call it layout module. So we have like static kind of views inside the application, like the header, footer, things like that. So these are mostly not going to call any business logic or neither state in most of the scenarios. So this is going to be considered as the layout related modules. So real world examples, header and footer. I think one question raises at this point, Samindra. There are navigations in applications, right? In the applications that we use throughout the days. That is, I mean, if you think straight through that, it is coming in the header in the real world scenario. So what do you think we should include the navigation related code or navigation related module, or say it a weave? Where do we need to add? How do we think through that?
Yeah, it's actually totally dependent, depending on how much of functionality and logic that this header, let's say, or rather a left navigation or a right navigation. We have all navigations in our applications. So if it sort of processes some logic and components, you can of course have it as a shared module instead of having it in the header or like static content in header or footer. In most cases, we will be doing like there will be menus, pop-ups, and all sorts of things when it comes to these navigational components. So it actually depends. If it's more of a very static content, we can of course have it in the layout. And but in most applications, at least most industrial grade applications, these navigations will have lots of stuff done inside. So I think we can consider it as another feature, or a module that is again or a component that is again shared between others. So we can try to incorporate it in hopefully in shared module. Yes. Okay. So Weaves module. So we sort of discussed that we have all our weaves inside the feature itself. But how about the weaves that are no part of any feature? Like, do we really have such weaves? Do you think?
Yes. For an example, say um, the pages that we have, right? For an instance, think about the initial web page weave that we load. Uh, so that will obviously have a set of components loaded, or even set of logics that are calling the services and all. So weaves are the it's again not to be messed up with the container component, but gonna contain the components which you will route. For an example, again coming to the pages that you are going throughout in the application, the root page that you would navigate to. So it's not any part of the feature, honestly, if you think about it, right? But it's gonna be I mean, you really need to have that in the application. But the beauty of this is, since we include the features inside, I mean, all the feature related logics inside the feature modules, this is only going to contain those components and weaves which are going to be inside the application. So I think that clearly explains what weaves module is. Am I right?
Yes. Okay. I think the next is sort of the styles folder, which is again not exactly a module but a folder. So this is where we define all our global styles or global style definitions. And again, this is I may say an important part, because if you are to load all your styles at once, it's gonna again affect the application load time. So the usual case is we sort of have the component level styles within the component, or feature level styles within the feature itself. But there of course are global level styles that we will be using. For an example, theming or other layout related styling or common styles that are used everywhere. So all these sort of goes into this global style definitions.
Yeah,
Uh,
and also I think that sums up the importance of talking about styles as well when we think about the scalability. Uh, and there is, I mean, Angular is by design, you will have styles of the components, because the components are the building structure of the application. By design, it will have the styles. So how we differentiate between where we edit, whether we are going to edit in the global style definitions, or it's going to be only component related, that is also a critical decision, though it does not seems like it. That is also a very critical decision that we need to make while developing the components and decision making stage.
yeah. Yes. So I think all those were actually falling under how we can design a scalable module structure. And if we come back to our original discussion, which is sort of the top discussion, thinking in terms of scalability, we are at the very end of it, which is the testing part. And so here what we are going to discuss
To interrupt
is
you, in subjective terms, this may be the first thing that we need to talk about as well, if we are going with test-driven
exactly.
development patterns like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a very debatable topic. So some may think TDD is the practice you need to follow, and there's a lot of counter argument on that as well. But it's a decision that your team actually has to take. But of course, some sort of or some amount of unit tests are going to help you a lot in industry grade applications. At least that's what we have understood. So uh, so this is sort of all about unit test, and you all know that I think it's really hard to achieve, I may say, 100% code coverage or 100% unit test coverage. So at least what we try to do when it comes to a practical scenario is in a scalably architectured Angular application, since we have the services, all the services separated, the business logic will more or less like ultimately, ideally, it should like all the business logic should ideally be in services. So we first give the priority to write the unit tests for services. So most of our business logic will be covered, and then there will be some logic also reside in our state, or rather the stores. So then we can sort of focus on covering the stores with unit tests, and then we have the smart containers, which sort of takes care of communicating or getting all this data and passing them to the dump components. So they are also may involve some logic. So we can then start writing unit tests for those. And finally, I may say, I don't know if it's the correct term. If we don't have anything else to do, we can start writing tests on presentational components as well. But that would be the ideal case, and this is at least what we have from what we have practiced. This is sort of the priority that should you should focus on when it comes to unit tests. Yeah. uh,
Uh, yeah, but this won't find an end if we don't talk about the pros and cons.
yes.
Uh,
Now So the goal of this session, I may say, is to talk about the pros. Otherwise, there's no point in having this session at all. So, of course, like going on with or adopting this architecture will make your app scalable. And when it's grown, like when it's a big application or an industry grade application, the most important part is the maintainability, because you will have a huge team, and it has to be, the code has to be maintained. Building such a structured app makes it really maintainable. And if you, of course, include it with unit tests and quality control. And again, another pro would be to the understandability. Anyone new could even go through the code and understand at least 75% of it without the help of someone else, if it's properly written. And of course, that person understands this architecture. And yeah, Saab, what do you think about the cons?
That is I mean, for the text purposes, though we have added it as a cons, that is actually a pros. It's
Yes.
I'm trying to create a paradox here, but again, the initial architecture effort that we need to put, right, for someone to think through the scalability, they need to have the knowledge of this, why we are doing this. That's what we have been talking throughout this session. So why feature modules, why views, why a separate module called layout module? Someone might not have even heard about it, people might have heard about it, or people might have used it in different terms. Even why shared modules, things like that. If you don't know the why, it's very tough to call a decision on this. So the initial architecture effort, time and all will be there, which obviously will save a lot of time and save you from a lot of effort in the future. So that is quite I need to put it as a cons, but then again, yeah, we had to.
Just so that we had something for a con.
Exactly.
Okay. Yes. So this is something I may say is again important. So the decisions that we have to take on importing or incorporating other new elements in our application. So this is the ultimate goal, right? To build a scalable Angular application, to incorporate new changes, elements, features, everything. So let's say you have a new feature that your client or something that you have to incorporate into your existing application. So these are the four things, as we have understood at least, that you should be concerned about. So how that new feature is going to handle the state, and then how that new feature will be presented to the user, and then how the data flow is going to happen, how it is going to get the data from the state, and how the interactions will be sent back to the state and updated. That part of the detail. And then you have to be concerned about the communication, like what are the third party services that you are going to use. Will you have to use browser storage, or is it just the API connection, or API that you have to link to? So if you think in terms of these four, at least I may say, you will figure out where exactly this feature or this particular element needs to be placed inside your application. So this is something I think somewhat important when you take a decision on having a new element into your application.
Yeah. So so far, I think whoever has been listening from the start might understand that we are building a bridge between these conceptual stuff that we need to consider. Things like you said, state, presentation, data flow, communication, and also the folder structure. So based on this, we define the module and folder structures. So when you practically write the code and create folders and create components, how we are going to apply this in our real life scenario when we are developing. So for that, just take an example scenario, the same scenario, rating coffees, right? Um, in that, say that for the admin panel or whatever, you need to be able to implement an upload feature, maybe restaurant pictures or even pictures of coffees or review pictures. So this should be thinking through it. This should be usable throughout all of these requirements. So to use it throughout all of this, what we need to do, what we need to consider. So considering all of that, we have proposed this kind of folder structure. So this is a conceptual folder structure that we have built and we are using in our application. So this file upload, if you look into it, uh, the components, uh, containers, models, services, state views, what we have been talking through throughout this. A small difference you might see, the services and state are separated here. State is also in terms of Angular services. So you can see the components just has one thing, that upload progress bar, and the containers will have all the views that where you can upload the file and weave the uploaded file, uh, and also the counts of the file that you have, things like that. And inside the components, obviously you will call the logics inside the container component, and the models that we have been talked, types. Why I added this, the difference is because, again, it is how as a team you understand and adapt the best, stealing from the best. How do you do it? So and the views, obviously, the initial file upload view. And if you look at it, you have the module and obviously the routing module. If you have different child views that you need to process inside that. Sorry about that. So therefore, taking this as an example, we can lazy load this as well. We can use it anywhere from the application as well, saying that the services that are isolated to use just, I mean, all the file uploading, file retrieving related, or whatever that is related to this module, services are included in this. So that's the, again, saying the word beauty, beauty of the feature modules, or this based on its work, it can be shared module. I think we might have questions based on this. How do you differentiate between feature modules and shared module? We'll come to that. But so this is at the end, how do you make the decision? And state, number of files uploaded, you might need to pass it to somewhere. How do you communicate to that? And where do you subscribe to the state? Things like that is very important when we decide this. I think we can go into the Q&A, isn't it, Samindra?
Yes, I think
But do you have
we
anything
can.
to add before that?
Yeah, I think we should thank whoever influenced us into this, from our team, as well as where we took the idea of this. Maybe Sab, you do the honors.
Yes. So initially, this has been brought into our team. This entire idea, the research and everything is done and brought into our team by one of our colleague at 99X, Rishanta Kumar, and the entire team, including Rishanta Kumar, who were part of taking this idea into further matured level. So again, great job has been done, and that's why we are being able to talk about this as well. And also, we have used some of we have taken the inspiration from few of the places, Angular index.dev and George Byte. There's a guy called Blogger, his article. So the credits to those authors as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think we can quickly move into the Q&A session. So I think we have a couple of questions so far.
Yes,
Yes.
the first question reading out, it's coming from Praveen Kumar Srikanthan. Hi, will you share the project structure on GitHub? Yes, I have cloned and did some edits in project from the person I have mentioned, George White. So we'll definitely share that link, I think, probably through our marketing people. Moving on to next question, Ashik
Before
Salit.
that, sir, sorry to interrupt. I think we can prompt for some of the questions from the audience as well, if there are any.
So are we getting questions in the Zoom?
Yes, I
Okay.
suppose.
If we don't have any questions in the Zoom, we can move into this coming from YouTube. I think Ashik
Yes.
Salit has
Okay.
been asking, can you differentiate between the logic that will go into smart containers and feature services? I will repeat the question. Can you differentiate between the logic that will go into smart containers and feature services? Uh, Feature services, the word services is a bit tricky here to understand, but what I have understood from this question is, how do you differentiate the logic, whether to add it in the smart container itself, or
I think this is mostly Saf. He's asking about this. So the simple answer would be Ashik. Always the services in this case will hold the business logic. Like whatever the business logic that service is, or rather the feature is supposed to take care of, and whatever the logic that goes into smart containers will be only to get get whatever the data from the store and execute call for that service logic and get whatever the processing done and pass it to the dumb components or dumb elements so that it will be presented to the user. And then again, when user interacts with that, the smart container's logic will sort of capture that and then pass it back to the feature services logic. If there's any processing that needs to be done before updating the state with the interaction, and get the result from the service and update the state with the payload. So that is basically, I think that's the question that you have asked, at least as per as I at least as I how I understood.
yeah, thank you for decoding that. So there is one best, I mean, these community best practices that are suggested. There is one thing like all your business logic at Samindra said, will go into the services. You're not going to write any business logic in the component. It's something that you follow as a Bible. So anything other than the business logic, what can come in the component containers? Maybe
Smart
some
container.
UI, yeah, smart containers. Maybe some UI related actions you need to define. Calling some button actions. Only the weave and the component will be as a gap. We call it as a abstract pattern. You have a facade layer in the component. So through that component, you'll call the business logic. And that's how the flow will work. So I was thinking an example, what we can limit into the component. That is probably the things that are like keeping the call and UI manipulation related stuff only, the DOM interaction related stuff. So yeah, if we don't have any further questions, we can wind up, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think like we haven't prompted with any other questions. So I think since the time is also running out, we can wrap things up. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us, joining with us today. So if you wish to uh, see more insightful webinars as such, you can of course subscribe and share and like our YouTube channel. Of
And
course,
press the bell icon so that
yes.
that you will get the notification whenever we have uploaded or whenever we come live. And people who couldn't ask the questions in the live session, maybe you can find us in any online and ask for the questions. Yeah, we
All
will
right.
be answering. Just Google our name, Samin the Chaturanga or
Yeah,
Saya Farooq.
of course. Okay, then see you guys. Thank you very much. We'll meet up with another session, hopefully. Goodbye.
Bye bye.